Welcome to this episode of the Harpreet Singh Show. I'm your host Harpreet Singh from Surrey, British Columbia, Canada. In today's program, we'll be talking to Arneja, who is an author. She's an entrepreneur also, and she has written a wonderful book which is called Love at First Sight: A Mother's Journey to Adoption. So this is a book, very interesting read, and I had the opportunity to read this book. And once I held this book, I had to complete it, and then only I left it out. So we'll be talking to her today as to what is in this book which she would like to share with the world, and especially this is a book, she says, not about adoption, but it is about a mother's love and how her journey took her to adopt two children from India. So let's go over to Arneja and continue with the discussion with her. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having me.
So first of all, congratulations for writing this book. I must compliment you. It is really an interesting read, and I don't know how much time did you take to write this book, but it really is an interesting read.
Yeah, thank you so much. It took me about 2 years to write it.
Hmm. Okay, so let's start off with
Mm.
from your young age only, it was ingrained in your mind that never give up. This was a kind of a motto which you had adopted. And there's one chapter which you have devoted to this particular aspect only. So let's start from there as to this determination to succeed or to get whatever you want. Never give up. What was this?
It was found at the top of the mountain, Mount Fuji in Japan, and I had the opportunity of climbing that mountain when I was 16. And I did want to give up, really prepared to climb the mountain, but I ended up, completing it, getting to the top, and I ended up not realizing how much of an impact that particular episode in my life would have on me later on, because I kept coming back to that every time I had to. Um, make a journey to India, for example, to find my children. These words kept coming up in my head, never give up. So it stayed with.
Hmm. So from
Yeah.
climbing episode, it just got ingrained in your mind, and that is what continued in your whole life. That you were attached to these words, and these kind of motivated you to carry on with whatever you wanted. Now, there have been in your book you have mentioned about lots of challenges that you went through, and especially at a younger age. You also lost your brother, and after that, when you came to know that you cannot become a mother, so the process of finding children started. So this was a time during that period when, especially in your book also you have mentioned, because we live in that kind of society where adopting a child is still considered to be a little bit, it's a different thought. So take us back into that year once all these things started happening and you started thinking of, going over and adopting a child.
There is a stigma in the Indian community which doesn't, I mean, there's a lot of families who will not adopt outside of their family bloodlines. And that was sort of, I knew a little bit about it, and I knew more so when I went to India, when I approached people. And, these are the kind of questions that I asked, that, you're actually adopting outside of your family bloodline. And I said, yes, it actually didn't occur to my husband and I. And so, we just wanted to have a baby. But I know about that stigma very well. And hopefully this book will, if a young couple reads it, they will get a little bit of encouragement that there is a happy ending, a light at the end of that infertility tunnel, so to speak, that they can have a very happy family life if they do adopt a child.
Mhm. And also, you mentioned in the beginning of the book that this is not a book on adoption, but it's a celebration of motherhood through adoption. So, life continues, life has many ups and downs, but this was a time in the 70s or 80s when you started looking for a child. And at that time, of course, with no support, you went alone to India, but you had an auntie in Delhi who was a big support to you. So, this is how this journey started. So, take our viewers today on that journey as to how you tell us that this is a celebration of motherhood.
Because maybe kids nowadays are very focused on careers. People that are having infertility issues, sometimes their number one priority is to become a parent. So they'll try everything. No, they'll leave no stone unturned to try and become a mother. So that is why I think my focus in life became that, just to become a mom. So yeah, that's how I focused. That's why I left Canada on my own to go to
Hmm.
India, because my husband couldn't go at the time. And yeah, it becomes a bit of an emotional journey for me. That's why I have to hesitate here and there. But yeah, that was a focus in my life. Career didn't matter, you
Hmm.
know, family only mattered.
Right. So you land up in Delhi and you don't know anything about how to adopt a child, and your pursuit to find a child starts. So let us go back during those days when you went over there. How was it like from Canada? You know, you had gone over there and with no idea how to adopt a child. So, what was the kind of emotions, the feelings, and the pursuit to find a child running around here and there in Delhi? So, tell our views about that.
It was, I mean, of course, there's no internet and no cell phone, so I sat a lot at home on yellow pages and white pages, just flipping through, and then I would consume my days in going to hospitals looking for um, basically an abandoned child. So, and I found this kind of information that there are children available at hospitals from other relatives and friends in New Delhi. And it was just people chatting to me about, where they had found, heard about somebody or had adopted a child from this hospital. So I would sort of gear towards those places. But a lot of it was word of mouth. A lot of it was talking to people. That's how I kind of directed myself on where I was going to go the next day.
Hmm. And Raj, Delhi was more of a jungle for you. So, how did you cope up with that different lifestyle, what you had started living over there while finding a child for you?
Yeah, the words of the term "Welcome to the Jungle" is actually a rock song. So I
Hmm.
just did said that because just suddenly thrown into this a land of unknown. So it was like a jungle for me because I was unknown. Although I love Delhi, I love that city, and I'm very familiar with it. So I just used that terminology because it was really I didn't know what I was doing there. So I mean, in terms of the bureaucracy, in terms of finding a baby and things like that. But you know what? It's step by step. Everything happened very. Um, uh, nicely. Like somehow I didn't really know the obstacles, and I think if I had known them, maybe I wouldn't have done what I did. I think the unknown made me continue.
Hmm.
So,
But your faith
yeah.
also kind of supported you. And in the book, you have mentioned about your visit to Hemkund Sahib, and over there, it was
Yes.
kind of a epiphany, and everything started coming in, order. So tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the premise of writing this book is that particular incident because it was just such a unrealistic thing that happened because I've done my due diligence in New Delhi. 3 weeks I've been there and I've been giving my name to all the hospitals in and around Delhi. And then I think, okay, what else am I going to do? Let me go on this pilgrimage. I have found the chance to go on this. And the day that I am up there, I'm praying for a child, I'm praying for happiness, family, this, that, the whole, just whatever, right? Just thankful. And I come back 4 days later, baby boy. And that happened to be the day that I was up praying for
Hmm.
him. The premise of the book is that because I kept telling people this story, and and when I keep telling the story, everybody gets quite fascinated, and I thought I should pen this down, and that's how I literally started writing the story.
Great. Raj, it's time
Mm.
for a short break. We'll go for a break. We'll be back and we'll continue with the discussion and learn more from you about this journey of adoption and how this changed you, your life, and what messages would you like to give to our viewers. We'll continue with all this after this short break. ਸ਼ਾਈਨ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਡੈਂਟਲ ਕਲੀਨਿਕ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਸਤਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਦੀ ਦੇਖ-ਰੇਖ ਹੇਠ ਆਧੁਨਿਕ ਮਸ਼ੀਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਵਰਤੋਂ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਦੰਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਹੀ ਕੇਅਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੰਦਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਫ਼ ਕਰਨਾ, ਕਰਾਊਨਸ, ਬ੍ਰਿਜਸ, ਡੈਂਟਲ ਇੰਪਲਾਂਟਸ, ਰੂਟ ਕਨਾਲ, ਡੈਂਚਰਸ, ਬੌਂਡਿੰਗ ਅਤੇ ਵਨੀਰਸ, ਐਕਸਟ੍ਰੈਕਸ਼ਨਸ, ਬੋਨ ਗ੍ਰੈਫਟਿੰਗ ਆਦਿ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਹਨ। ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਡੈਂਟਿਸਟਰੀ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਮਾਹਰ ਹਨ। ਇਹ ਇੰਸ਼ੋਰੈਂਸ ਕੰਪਨੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਡਾਇਰੈਕਟਲੀ ਬਿੱਲ ਭੇਜਦੇ ਹਨ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਘੱਟ ਤੋਂ ਘੱਟ ਚਾਰਜ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਵਾਅਦਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ। ਫॉर ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਸ਼ਾਈਨ ਐਂਡ ਸਮਾਈਲ 604 503 03 20 ਤੇ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ। ਕਿੰਗ ਜਾਰਜ ਸੁਪਰ ਸਟੋਰ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਯੂਨਿਟ 370 7488 ਕਿੰਗ ਜਾਰਜ ਬੁਲੇਵਾਰਡ, ਸਰੀ।
ਕੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਰੀ, ਡੈਲਟਾ, ਰਿਚਮੰਡ, ਐਬਸਫੋਰਡ ਜਾਂ ਵੈਂਕੂਵਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਵਾਂ ਘਰ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਬਾਰੇ ਸੋਚ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਪੁਰਾਣੇ ਘਰ ਨੂੰ ਰੈਨੋਵੇਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ? ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ ਤਜਰਬੇਕਾਰ ਬਿਲਡਰ, ਇੱਕ ਕ੍ਰੀਏਟਿਵ ਇੰਟੀਰੀਅਰ ਡਿਜ਼ਾਈਨਰ ਦੀ ਜੋ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਹੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਗਾਈਡ ਕਰ ਸਕਣ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸੁਪਨੇ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਨੂੰ ਉਸਾਰ ਸਕਣ। ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ ਹਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਜਾਂ ਸੰਦੀਪ 6048259295 ਉੱਤੇ।
ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸਮੈਨ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਪਿਆਰ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਕੀ ਵਜ੍ਹਾ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ? ਸੁਖੀ ਬਾਟ ਮੋਟਰਸ ਦੇ ਓਨਰ ਸੁਖੀ ਬਾਟ ਨੂੰ ਵੇਖ ਕੇ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਸਮਝ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ। ਇੰਟੈਲੀਜੈਂਸ ਦਾ ਉਦਾਹਰਨ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕਾਰ ਸੈਗਮੈਂਟ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਖ ਸੁਖੀ ਬਾਟ ਮੋਟਰਸ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਨੇ ਸਰੀ ਦਾ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਟਰੱਕ ਸੈਂਟਰ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲੋੜ ਦੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲੋੜੀਂਦੇ ਟਰੱਕਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਗਾਈਡੈਂਸ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ। ਸਪੇਸ, ਮੋਡੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਤੇ ਫਿਊਲ ਐਫੀਸ਼ੀਐਂਸੀ ਸਭ ਨੂੰ ਧਿਆਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਸੁਖੀ ਬਾਟ ਟਰੱਕ ਸੈਂਟਰ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਟਰੱਕਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਟੌਰ।
ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਫਿਰ ਆਪ ਸਭ ਦਾ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਵਿੱਚ। ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੇਰਾ ਸਾਥ ਦੇਣ ਨੇ ਰਾਜ ਅਰਨੇਜਾ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਲਿਖੀ ਹੈ ਲਵ ਐਟ ਫਰਸਟ ਸਾਈਟ। ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ 2 ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਡਾਪਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਜਾ ਕੇ, ਅਤੇ ਇਸ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਰਨੀ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈਗੀ। ਕੁਛ ਹੀ ਦੇਰ ਤੱਕ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਔਨ 에ਅਰ 'ਤੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਦੱਸ ਦਈਏ ਕੁਝ ਸਪਾਂਸਰਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਂ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਬਦੌਲਤ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮਸ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੱਕ ਰੋਜ਼ ਸ਼ਾਮ ਨੂੰ 7 ਵਜੇ ਪੈਸੀਫਿਕ ਸਟੈਂਡਰਡ ਟਾਈਮ ਦੇ ਮੁਤਾਬਿਕ ਪਹੁੰਚਦੇ ਨੇ। ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚਾਇਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ AMC ਇੰਸ਼ੋਰੈਂਸ ਦੇ ਸਹਿਯੋਗ ਨਾਲ। ਹੋਮ, ਆਟੋ, ਟਰੈਵਲ, ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ, ਲਾਈਫ, ਰਿਕ੍ਰੀਏਸ਼ਨਲ ਇੰਸ਼ੋਰੈਂਸ ਲੈਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ 9 ਦਫ਼ਤਰ ਨੇ ਲੋਅਰ ਮੇਨਲੈਂਡ ਵਿੱਚ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਰਵ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਹਫਤੇ ਦੇ 7 ਦਿਨ ਖੁੱਲ੍ਹੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਸਵੇਰੇ 7 ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ 8:30 ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਰਾਤ ਦੇ 9 ਵਜੇ ਤੱਕ। फ़ोन नंबर है 6045076666 604 507 6666। Our next sponsor is Ahi Transportation Group. They have been in the transportation and storage industry since 1993, and their motto is your cargo is our responsibility. So if you want to send your goods anywhere in Canada, you can depend upon them. Phone number is 604-940-9511 and address is 8970 River Road, Delta. Email is ahir.com and Mahujana website है ahir.com ਅਤੇ ਈਮੇਲ ਹੈ shinda@ahir.com। ਸਰੀ ਕਲੋਵਰਡੇਲ ਤੇ ਫਰੇਜ਼ਰ ਵੈਲੀ ਦੇ ਟਾਪ ਰੀਅਲਟਰ ਹਨ ਜੈਸ ਓਬਰਾਏ, ਜੋ ਰੀਮੈਕਸ ਬਲੂਪ੍ਰਿੰਟ ਰਿਐਲਿਟੀ ਨਾਲ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ। ਇਹ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਣੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਨ ਆਪਣੀ ਇੰਟੈਗ੍ਰਿਟੀ, ਕਮਿਟਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟਸ ਕਾਰਨ, ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਘਰ ਜਾਂ ਕਮਰਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਖਰੀਦਣੀ ਜਾਂ ਵੇਚਣੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੌਖਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ ਹੈ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਕਲਾਇੰਟ ਮਹੱਤਤਾ ਰੱਖਦਾ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਇਸ ਲਈ ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਕਾਲ 24 ਘੰਟਿਆਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਾਪਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੁਟਾਉਂਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ $500 ਨਕਦ ਦੇਣਗੇ। ਆਪਣੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਦੀ ਮੁਫਤ ਮਾਰਕੀਟ ਵੈਲਿਊਏਸ਼ਨ ਤੇ ਸਲਾਹ ਲਈ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ 778 994 7450 778-994-7450। ਈਮੇਲ ਹੈ joe@jasobrai.ca ਅਤੇ ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ ਹੈ jasobrai.ca। ਸੋ ਜੀ ਮੁੜ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਰਾਜ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਦਾ ਸਿਲਸਿਲਾ ਅੱਗੇ ਤੋਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। So Raj, before the break, like you were mentioning, this journey which you started, it was full of emotions, feelings. That is what you have tried to capture and tell to the readers. Now, once you were in Delhi and once you came back from Hemkund Sahib, and this was an absolutely a God sent child for you. But during this journey, when you were running around from pillar to post, and then you found your first child, you named her Kirti. So how did this name came about?
Well, Kabir was first.
I'm sorry, Kabir.
So
Yes.
Kabir was first. Yeah, Kabir. This name, my aunt Jeet Auntie in Delhi named him, and I had just come from Hemkund Sahib, and it just seemed like such an appropriate name. Of course, we love the name as well, so there wasn't too much thought put into it. But my aunt named him, and I'm so happy she came up with it.
Right.
There is
So
a name for
now,
Kirti. Yeah.
now the child was found, but the process of getting him back to Canada started. So what kind of red tapeism you had to go through, and how easy or difficult was that time to get the child back into Canada?
When I look at the overall picture, it wasn't very difficult, but I just didn't know the process, so I just had to learn about it. So I have a newborn baby. I'm living on broken sleep, and I am going to lawyers and notary publics every day, trying to find out what my next step is. So it was more about just learning the process, and I did have a lot of hurdles, but I had a good family there that were helping me along the way. So I think that was my saving factor.
So this
Yeah.
was a single-handed achievement because your husband Gurpreet was in Canada at that time. So you managed, ran around, found the child also, and then you brought the child back to Canada. Now, after this, how did your life change? Because
Yeah.
this was a new journey for you. So tell us about that.
Yeah, life, we became a nice little family unit. Um, Kabir, he was like sort of the focus of all of us, and my mom-in-law lived with us at the time. So we were really, really happy. And in the back of our mind, we wanted to get a second child, but we weren't in a rush because we were very fulfilled with Kabir.
Mhm.
So he brought us lots of joy and happiness, and
Hmm.
still does. Yeah.
Right. So, but during this period, as he was growing, then as you said, you were also started thinking about getting another child. So, tell us about that now a little bit as to now again with one child, the other child was to come. Then again, because we saw it during that time also, a lot of children were being brought from other countries also, like Africa. A lot of, especially the mainstream community, got a lot of children from there. So again, your focus was on
Mhm.
India only, or you thought about some other countries also?
No, I didn't think about any other country except Canada, and Canada's wait was just too long, so we didn't want to. We did have our application in for Kabir's time as well, but we just weren't going to wait. We already had such a success in India, and we never even thought twice about going back to India
Hmm.
for the second child.
So how much was the gap in between getting first Kabir and then Kirti?
There's 4 years. I
Hmm.
mean, generally speaking, people have children after 2 years, but of course, we had to do bigger job and leave the country and uproot basically. So when we realized that Kabir was finishing preschool and going into full-time kindergarten, that's when we decided that we better go, at his age 4, so we don't have to uproot him through
Hmm.
school. So that's how we decided to go, and that's why they're apart. Yeah.
So was it again you yourself went, or Mr. Gurpreet also accompanied you when you went again to find Kirti?
Yeah, Gurpreet went with me. The three of us went, and my
Hmm.
mother-in-law went. So my mother-in-law was there for the first 2 or 3 weeks after we actually found Kirti.
Hmm.
So she was helping me, and that was a huge help because the first time I didn't have any help, and just the feedings, and then I have two children now, so she was there for the first 3 weeks of our beginnings with Kirti.
And finding Kirti was also as easy as finding Kabir, or were there some differences?
There was because I knew what I was doing, all I did was direct. I just said we have to do this, and we actually did the hospitals that I had went to at Kabir's time. We did those within 3 days. I knew exactly where to go, so I was just guiding Gurpreet. Now he was taking a lead, but I was guiding him. And finally, when we ended up visiting our cousins in Punjab and Ludhiana, or Kanna, I should say, they directed us to a hospital in Ludhiana, and
Hmm.
that's when we ended up finding Kirti. We just went to meet somebody at the hospital in Ludhiana, and there was a baby there, and that's our luck that within 3 weeks we had already found a baby.
And that's also an interesting story where you point out that Kirti was first to be taken by somebody else, but then you were so lucky that they allowed her to be brought to Canada by you.
Yeah, the
Hmm.
worst few days of my life because I had already given my heart to her.
Right.
So
You still get emotional when you talk about your children. There's so much of love and affection between you. That's really commendable. So this whole process during this period, you also went to Punjab also, and that was a different life what you saw over there. So tell us a little
mhm.
bit about that, as to that love, warmth, affection, what you found in the villages. What would you like to tell us about that?
uh, there's love and warmth even in New Delhi, but because there wasn't basically like the way the world is a smaller world now with internet. We didn't see the family very much except when we went to visit them. So of course, the embraced hugs, the long held hugs, those were there. Just the overjoy of seeing us. I really loved going to visit my relatives in the villages because of that. You just don't find that anywhere else. I think in cities people are meeting more often, but in the villages they're just so happy that you walked into their sort of home.
Right.
So I love that about
So
India
again, that
or
was a
Punjab.
great experience what you
Yeah.
had. So after how many months were you able to get back Kirti back into Canada?
Yeah. It literally took 3 months.
Hmm.
Gurpreet had to leave after 6 weeks. So Kirti, Kabir, and I, Kirti was a newborn, of course. We were there for another 6 weeks. So it was a 3-month, uh, you know, trip. And at the overall picture, I look at things now and I think it happened really fast. But at the time, I was like, oh my God, I'm homesick. I need to get my children home. This, that. I went through all kinds of emotions. And now looking at the bigger picture, I think I'm the luckiest person
Hmm.
because both kids came back in 3 months.
Right. Raj, I won't touch much of the growing years of your children because the love and affection they got from you, they made them wonderful human beings. But there also came a time when you told your children that they were adopted. What made you talk to them about that, and what kind of reaction was from the children, and how did all this happen?
I was told by somebody because you sometimes you read books and you understand from other people that have adopted. So I did ask people and they said tell them as young as possible, and so that's exactly what I did. Of course, Kabir, I told him, but he was 4 years old and he saw Kirti come, so he didn't quite understand the whole concept of adoption, but I knew he knew. Later on in life, I knew exactly, like he knew exactly. And Kirti, when I told her, she was 5 years old, and she was kind of didn't even it didn't phase her. The word adoption is a foreign word in my household, so it didn't phase her at all.
Hmm.
She was like just wanted to get back to playing. She was like 5 years old, so it didn't really matter much. But when she was about 12, 13, when some other children said something to her, she questioned it,
Hmm.
and I talked to her about it. But I never had to talk to Kabir about it. I don't know, just two different thought process. One is a girl, one is a boy. Girls are more curious, more emotional too.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
And now Kirti is a well-known singer also, and that journey also you have shared how you got her the opportunities, and she, with Mika Singh, started a North American tour also, and now she's well known. And similarly for Kabir also,
yeah.
he's established now. So now that the children have grown up, this entire journey, what you started, when you today look back into it, why this book now? What was the need when you thought that now is the time to get this book out?
Well, my kids are adults, and I asked them, and they said they would be fine with it. And
Hmm.
I think it actually started the thought process started when I went to India with Geeti, and I had
Hmm.
a lot of time on my hands. So, because I was reminiscing all the things that I had been doing in India, I just started jotting some few things down, and then I asked them, and I just thought it was an interesting story because even my own family didn't know what I went through.
Right.
They didn't know. You can't just start talking about, oh, this what happened to me in India. So I thought, let me pen it down, and a lot of my own family, including my sister, didn't know about half of the problems I had with infertility. She knew, but
Hmm.
she didn't know the depth. So it like and I relate to a lot of people with infertility, but I don't talk to them
Hmm.
and say, oh, I know what you're going through. I just listen to them because I want to hear. I don't think it helps if I say, oh, this happened to me, I know how you feel.
Hmm.
So instead, I just penned it down. If somebody wants to read about it, they can, that they're not the only ones in this world that have these problems.
Right. Okay. Again, Raj, it's time for a short break. We'll go for a break. We'll be shortly back and we'll continue with the discussion in the last segment of the program as to there are some important chapters towards the end, what you have mentioned. And one of the most important thing, what I loved in this book was where you talk about you can always get what you want. So your determination, your thought process, how it can help you. We'll talk all about this after this short break.
ਇੱਕ ਐਸੀ ਥਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਹਰ ਕੋਈ ਆਪਣੀ ਨਿੱਜੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦੇ ਸੁਨਹਿਰੀ ਪਲ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖਦਾ ਹੈ। ਉਹ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਹ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਪਿਆਰ ਭਰਿਆ ਜੀਵਨ ਬਤੀਤ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਪੂਰੀਆਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਦ ਕਿਸੇ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਨੂੰ ਸਜੇ ਹੋਏ ਘਰ 'ਚ ਬਦਲਿਆ ਜਾਵੇ। ਨਵੇਂ ਘਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫਰੇਮਿੰਗ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਫਿਨਿਸ਼ਿੰਗ ਤੱਕ, ਡ੍ਰੇਪਰੀ, ਪੇਂਟਿੰਗਸ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਡੈਕੋਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਅਸੈਸਰੀਜ਼ ਤੱਕ, ਤੁਸੀਂ SK ਹੋਮ ਡਿਜ਼ਾਈਨਸ ਦੀਆਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸੁਪਨਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਨੂੰ ਹਕੀਕਤ 'ਚ ਬਦਲ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਕੰਟੈਕਟ ਕਰੋ ਸੰਦੀਪ ਕੌਰ 6048259295।
Karen thought she won a gift card, but we had a much bigger surprise for her. We rise by lifting others. Basant Motors.
ਭਾਰਤ ਪੈਸੇ ਭੇਜਣੇ ਹੋਣ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਮੰਗਵਾਉਣੇ ਹੋਣ ਤੇ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖੋ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਫੋਰੈਕਸ ਨੂੰ। ਤਸੱਲੀ ਬਖਸ਼ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਅਤੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਰੇਟ ਦੇਣ ਦੀ ਇਹ ਗਾਰੰਟੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ। ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ 6043491313 ਉੱਤੇ।
ਲੈਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਨਵੇਂ ਤੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਅਪਲਾਈਐਂਸਸ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕਿ ਸਟੋਵ, ਅਵਨ, ਫ੍ਰਿਜ, ਵਾਸ਼ਰ ਡਰਾਇਰ, ਮਾਈਕ੍ਰੋਵੇਵ, ਫ੍ਰੀਜ਼ਰਸ ਜਾਂ ਡਿਸ਼ਵਾਸ਼ਰ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਪਹੁੰਚੋ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਮ ਅਪਲਾਈਐਂਸਸ ਤੇ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ 3 ਬ੍ਰਾਂਚਸ ਸਰੀ, ਐਬਟਸਫੋਰਡ ਤੇ ਚਿਲਵੈਕ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਨ। ਇੱਥੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਵਾਜਬ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਤੇ ਅਪਲਾਈਐਂਸਸ ਮਿਲਣਗੇ। ਇਹ ਡਿਲੀਵਰੀ ਤੇ ਇੰਸਟਾਲੇਸ਼ਨ ਵੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ। ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਪੈਕੇजेस ਫॉर ਬਿਲਡਰਸ ਐਂਡ ਹੋਮ ਓਨਰਸ। ਕਾਲ 6045904140 604 590 4140। ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਫਿਰ ਆਪ ਸਭ ਦਾ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਵਿੱਚ। ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਰਾਜ ਅਰਨੇਜਾ ਨਾਲ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਬਾਰੇ, ਲਵ ਐਟ ਫਸਟ ਸਾਈਟ, ਅ ਮਦਰਸ ਜਰਨੀ ਟੂ ਅਡਾਪਸ਼ਨ, ਜਿਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ 2 ਬੱਚੇ ਜੋ ਅਡਾਪਟ ਕੀਤੇ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਤੋਂ ਤੇ ਲੁਧਿਆਣੇ ਤੋਂ, ਕਬੀਰ ਅਤੇ ਕੀਰਤੀ। ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜੀਵਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਕੇ ਇੱਕ ਬਦਲਾਅ ਲਿਆਂਦਾ, ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀ ਜਰਨੀ ਸੀ, ਉਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਿਆ, ਤੇ ਕੀ ਕੁਝ ਇਹ ਮੈਸੇजेस ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਕੁਝ ਹੀ ਦੇਰ ਤੱਕ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਔਨ 에ਅਰ ਤੇ ਵਾਪਸ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਦੱਸਦੀ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਸਪਾਂਸਰਸ। ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚਾਇਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਬੈਸਟ ਹੋਮ ਕਿਚਨ ਕੈਬਨਿਟਸ ਦੇ ਸਹਿਯੋਗ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ। ਘਰ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਾਨ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿਚਨ, ਤੇ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੈਸਟ ਹੋਮ ਕਿਚਨ ਕੈਬਨਿਟਸ ਲੋਅਰ ਮੇਨਲੈਂਡ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਜਾਣੀ ਪਛਾਣੀ ਕੰਪਨੀ ਹਨ। ਕਸਟਮ ਹਾਈ ਐਂਡ ਘਰਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਮਲਟੀ ਯੂਨਿਟ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟਸ ਇਹ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਹਰ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਕੈਬਨਿਟ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਬੈਸਟ ਹੋਮ ਕਿਚਨ ਕੈਬਨਿਟਸ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖੋ। ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ ਸੁਰਜੀਤ ਢੇਸੀ ਨੂੰ 6045918171 604 591 8171। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੇਕਰ ਆਪਣੇ ਘਰ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਨਵੀਂ ਤੇ ਵੱਖਰੀ ਦਿੱਖ ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਐਕਮੀ ਗਲਾਸ ਲਿਮਿਟਡ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮਦਦ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਨ। ਇਹ ਫਰੇਮਲੈਸ ਗਲਾਸ ਰੇਲਿੰਗਸ, ਕਸਟਮ ਵੁੱਡ ਕਲੋਜ਼ਟਸ, ਸ਼ਾਰ ਤੇ ਟਬ ਡੋਰਸ, ਸ਼ਾਵਰ ਸਲਾਈਡਰਸ, ਬੈਵਲਡ ਵੁੱਡ ਜਾਂ ਮੈਟਲ ਟ੍ਰਿਮ ਮਿਰਰਸ ਤੇ ਕਸਟਮ ਗਲਾਸ ਵਰਕ ਦੀ ਮਹਾਰਤ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਹਨ। ਵਾਜਬ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ, ਕੁਆਲਿਟੀ ਕਰਾਫਟਸਮੈਨਸ਼ਿਪ ਤੇ ਹਾਈ ਕੁਆਲਿਟੀ ਲਈ ਇਹ ਜਾਣੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਨ। ਆਪਣੇ ਨਵੇਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਜਾਂ ਰੈਨੋਵੇਟ ਕਰਨ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਘਰ ਲਈ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ 6045438777 604 543 8777 8335 129 ਸਟਰੀਟ ਸਰੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਐਡਰੈਸ ਹੈ। So let's get back Raj again and talk to her about her journey, what she has mentioned. So Raj, this chapter, you can always get what you want. Now, is it just because you were able to get your children that you had this kind of thought process in your mind, or it has always been that if you are determined, you work hard? So what are those qualities, what you feel, which made you write this chapter?
Of course, it's to do with the family. So I feel that, I think I was more aiming it towards people who are having problems conceiving.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote that for them. Not I don't think it's more for business. Of course, working hard is key to success. But I think there, people have other obstacles. But for family situation, I think you can, if you are not able to conceive, you're not able to have children, you can always get what you want, which is a child, and that's through adoption. And that's what I meant by that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the chapter heading, there was a song that I used to sing to my kids all the time. It's a rock song again because I like rock music,
Mm-hmm.
and it's you can't always get what you want. And when children ask and ask for something, then I used to sing that you can't always get what you want, and I thought it was appropriate to make that a chapter because I
Mm-hmm.
got what I wanted.
Right.
Yeah.
So, as you mentioned in the beginning, also, it's still a stigma in our community, especially the Indo Canadian community, when we talk about adoption. Still, there are different misconceptions and different beliefs in the community. Now, you went through this process. Of course, when you adopted the children in your family, of course, you got that love and affection. But what about the society as such? Uh, did you face some challenges there also? And what message would you like to give to our community specifically right now, that why this is an important aspect in especially a lady's life?
Uh, I can't change anybody's thought process because this is generational. Like people think this adopting outside of the bloodline is an absolute, no, like it's an omen or whatever. They will not do it because they can't get past it. So I can't really change anybody, but I can change the younger generation or people
Mm-hmm.
that are nowadays older people like in their 30s and 40s can't have children. So I can give them a little bit of encouragement that if they're on that ledge, that it'll push them over to, yes, okay, we should adopt. If they've got too much family pressure, that no, you shouldn't. Because at the end of the day, I mean, my children are in their 20s. At the end of the day, the four of us really matter. It doesn't matter the outside people. We have to think like that. It sounds a bit selfish, but it really isn't, because you have to fulfill your life. Everybody, I know so many couples that don't have children my age, and
Mm-hmm.
I think they're probably regretting not, adopting because they're lonely. And people look at them and at that age and they think, oh, they don't have a child.
Mm-hmm.
Well, nobody's going to look at me like that. You know,
Right.
there's a big sense of fulfillment. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Well, of course, a sense of fulfillment, that love, affection that your family created for yourself, and now you are giving it back to the community also. You're also talking about a legacy of love and giving in the book. So, could you tell us a little bit about that towards the end as to how getting these two children change your life, and then you further on try to spread this message or try to spread this happiness in the society also by way of Seva Thrift Store or the other charitable causes that you indulge in?
Yeah, I tried to take my children to India every 4 years, especially when they were younger. It was a little harder, but I took them to India because I wanted them to know India as their birthplace, not be foreign to it like I was when I was 19. I didn't have a chance until I was 19. So I kept going, and then I thought I should go with a purpose. I did go, to these orphanages, and I took my kids there, and I wanted them
Mm-hmm.
to know, like, this is how you help people that are less fortunate than you. So I just made it, uh, like a part of my trip. I had to go and do something, and I did like eye camps with one of my cousins. I did that. I even took my children to Africa
Mm-hmm.
when Kabir was 16, Kirti was 12, and we volunteered in a village. So we keep like you try and instill these things in children, and hopefully in the future they'll do that. And I grew up kind of like that because my parents were very, I guess, I suppose they were very giving,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a learned behavior. It wasn't like they said to us to do anything, because my sister and I always volunteered in high school and things like that. So I think it kept going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wonderful. It was a pleasure talking to you, Raj. Thank you very much, and congratulations once again for taking the initiative to share your experiences with others, and especially for parents who want to adopt a child. You become a source of inspiration for them. Thank you and best wishes. If I have not asked anything and you would like to add anything towards the end, you're most welcome.
Yeah, no, I just the chapters that I wrote, raising Kirti and raising Kabir, that was more for the Indian audience, maybe because they need to realize how normal it is, because that's the question I get asked,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the question that I hate. And it's something like, how does it feel that, you know I hate to even say these words, it's hard for me, but like, how does it feel that they're not your natural born children? And that
Mm-hmm.
bothers me. So I wanted to put some normalcy in it, and that's why I threw those chapters in, because they need to realize they are my children and forever will be.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Again, thank you very much and best wishes.
yeah.
Thank you, Raj.
Thank you for reading my book too. Okay.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank
ਸੋ
you.
ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਿਆ
Thanks
ਅੱਜ
very
ਸਾਡੇ
much.
ਨਾਲ ਰਾਜ ਅਰਨੇਜਾ ਨੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਲਵ ਐਟ ਫਰਸਟ ਸਾਈਟ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਪੜ੍ਹੋ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਰਾਜ ਤੇ ਗੁਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਦਾ ਕੀਰਤੀ ਕਬੀਰ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਕਬੀਰ ਦਾ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਫਿਆਂਸੀ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਸੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਉਪਲਬਧੀਆਂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਮਟੀਰੀਅਲਿਸਟਿਕ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਕੁਝ ਉਪਲਬਧੀਆਂ ਅੱਜ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਨਾਨਕ ਫੂਡਸ ਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕੰਪਨੀ ਚੱਲਦੀ ਹੈ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਭਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਸ਼ਹੂਰ ਹੈ ਲੇਕਿਨ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਰਾਜ ਦੀ ਇਹ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ ਇਨਸਾਨ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਦਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਆਮ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੇਰ ਤੇਰ ਜਿਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੈ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਅਡਾਪਟ ਕੀਤੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਪਲਸ ਇਨਫਰਟਿਲਿਟੀ ਫਾਈਟ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ adoption is the best way and that can bring about a wonderful change in your life where you can enjoy yourself and give good environment to your children and ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਮਾਜ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਕੁਝ ਨਾ ਕੁਝ ਦੇਣ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਾਮਯਾਬ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜੇਕਰ ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਖੁਸ਼ ਹੋਵਾਂਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਸਮਾਜ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੁਝ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਸੋ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਮੁਬਾਰਕਬਾਦ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਰਾਜ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਸਮਾਪਤੀ ਫੀਡਬੈਕ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ 604 603 7555 ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਈਮੇਲ ਜ਼ਰੀਏ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰੋ harpreetsingh@gmail.com ਦੁਨੀਆ ਭਰ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਂਝ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਹੋ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੜੇ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਮੁੱਦਿਆਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਹਰ ਰੋਜ਼ ਮੰਡੇ ਟੂ ਫਰਾਈਡੇ ਸ਼ਾਮ ਦੇ 7 ਵਜੇ ਪੈਸੀਫਿਕ ਸਟੈਂਡਰਡ ਟਾਈਮ ਦੇ ਮੁਤਾਬਿਕ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਬਣਨਾ ਚਾਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਜੀ ਆਇਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰਨਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਲੈਣਾ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਫਿਰ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਹੈਵ ਅ ਸੇਫ ਈਵਨਿੰਗ ਇੰਜੋਏ ਯੋਰਸੈਲਫ ਐਂਡ ਸਟੇ ਸੇਫ
ਕੁਦਰਤ ਦੇ ਸੌਮਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਵਰਤੋਂ ਆਯੁਰਵੇਦਾ ਰਾਹੀਂ 5000 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਚੱਲਦੀ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਬਣਾਏ ਗਏ ਹੈਲਥ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਅਪਰੂਵਡ 100% ਸ਼ੁੱਧ ਆਯੁਰਵੈਦਿਕ ਡਾਇਟਰੀ ਸਪਲੀਮੈਂਟਸ ਦਾ ਲਾਭ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਸਟ੍ਰੈਸ, ਐਂਗਜ਼ਾਇਟੀ, ਇਨਸੋਮਨੀਆ, ਬਲੱਡ ਸ਼ੂਗਰ, ਕਿਡਨੀ, ਬਲੈਡਰ, ਹਾਜ਼ਮਾ, ਆਈਸਾਈਟ ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੀ ਬਿਮਾਰੀ ਦਾ ਆਰਗੈਨਿਕ ਇਲਾਜ, ਜੋੜਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਦਰਦਾਂ ਤੇ ਸਰੀਰਕ ਮਸਾਜ ਲਈ ਕਈ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੇ ਆਯੁਰਵੈਦਿਕ ਤੇਲ ਵੀ ਉਪਲਬਧ ਹਨ। ਹੋਲਸੇਲ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਲਈ ਕਾਲ 604 628 2003।
ਦਰਦ ਤੋਂ ਆਰਾਮ ਐਲੋਪੈਥਿਕ ਦਵਾਈਆਂ ਖਾਣ ਨਾਲ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਸਾਈਡ ਇਫੈਕਟਸ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਨ। ਨੈਚੁਰਲ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਦੇ ਸਪਲੀਮੈਂਟਸ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਦਰਦ ਨੂੰ ਜੜੋਂ ਖਤਮ ਕਰਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਾਰਕਸ ਫਾਰਮੇਸੀ ਦੇ ਹਿੰਦੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਸਟਾਫ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮਦਦ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਨ। ਇਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਡਕਟਸ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਹਰ ਹਿੱਸੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਭੇਜਦੇ ਹਨ। ਅਪਾਇੰਟਮੈਂਟ ਬੁੱਕ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ 604 596 1774 ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਵਿਜ਼ਿਟ ਕਰੋ 8035 120 ਸਟਰੀਟ ਡੈਲਟਾ। ਦਰਦ ਨੂੰ ਜੜੋਂ ਖਤਮ ਕਰੋ। ਵੈਨਕਾਸਾ ਟਾਈਲ ਅਤੇ ਸਟੋਨ ਸ਼ੋਰੂਮ ਇੱਕ ਐਸੀ ਥਾਂ ਹੈ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਹੋਲਸੇਲ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਤੇ ਹਰ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੀਆਂ ਟਾਈਲਸ, ਸਟੋਨ, ਮਾਰਬਲ, ਬੈਕਸਪਲੈਸ਼, ਮੋਜ਼ੇਕ ਆਦਿ ਵਾਜਬ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਤੇ ਮਿਲ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇਟਾਲੀਅਨ, ਸਪੈਨਿਸ਼, ਚਾਈਨੀਜ਼ ਪੋਰਸਲਨ ਜਾਂ ਸਿਰੈਮਿਕ ਟਾਈਲਸ ਜਾਂ ਮਾਰਬਲ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਆਰਡਰ ਤੇ ਜਾਂ ਕਲੀਅਰੈਂਸ ਤੇ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਮਾਲਕ ਡਾਇਰੈਕਟ ਟਾਈਲਸ ਇੰਪੋਰਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ, ਜਿਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਕੁਆਲਿਟੀ ਦਾ ਸਮਾਨ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਘਰ ਦਾ ਸ਼ਿੰਗਾਰ ਬਣਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਵਿਜ਼ਿਟ ਕਰੋ 1304 84 ਐਵਨਿਊ ਸਰੀ। ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਹਿੰਦੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ 604 330 7363 604 330 7363।